So I just watched Us. That was kind of a lot. So Us is the new horror movie from Jordan Peele. It stars Lupita Nyong'o, and it's pretty good. I liked it quite a lot, but there is a lot to unpack from this movie. It's a horror movie, but it's not like a straight-up horror movie. There's kind of something of an art house element to it as well. It's very interesting, and there's, like I say, there is a lot there. I'm probably going to get a bit spoilery in this video, not so much in terms of the specific events that happen, but more in terms of what the movie is kind of about, or what I kind of felt it was about, because it's a movie that's very much, you have to look under the surface to kind of get what this movie is. I'm fairly certain there's going to be 100 ending explained videos for this movie that will all be terrible. On the surface, it's about this family who one night get attacked by their doppelgangers, and it's about the very tense situation that arises from that, and then you find out that it goes a bit deeper and bigger, and etc, etc. It's not a movie that benefits from being just a surface level reading. It kind of needs you to look deeper to get more out of it, and that's a good thing. More movies should be willing to expect their audiences to actually think about what they're watching, you know? So the evil doppelgangers are called the Tethered, and there is one for everyone. So it's not just this one family like the trailer makes it look to be. There's actually tethered for every single person, at the very least every single person in America, possibly every single person in the world. You don't know, you only see in America. They have been living underground this whole time. For everything that happens to the people that they are tethered to, something happens to them. So Lupita Nyong'o gets married in the real world, her tether is forced with the tether of Lupita Nyong'o's husband. She has children, her tether has children. It's all kind of connected, but it's a darker version that happens to the tethers. So while Lupita Nyong'o gets to eat fresh food, the tethers have to eat raw rabbit. It's dark and it's horrible, and the implication is that whatever you do in the world has this effect on these people you can't see. And that makes it feel like it's a metaphor for class divides. So, and again, I'm not saying this is 100%, this is what the text of the movie is saying, because it's open to interpretation, and that's kind of the point. But the way I saw it, and the way I've seen a few other people talking about it as well, is that the regular people are meant to represent kind of middle and upper class, which the characters in the movie are. I mean, they have like a beach house that they can go to for holiday that is their property, not like a rented place, it is theirs. So they are the upper and middle class, and the tethered are the working class poor people who get affected by what the upper class are doing, even if the upper class aren't aware of it. So the decisions you make in your everyday life when you have a lot of money, you may not be even thinking about the people who are down at the bottom of the ladder who are suffering as a result of your actions, whether you mean them to or not. And that's kind of what the movie is getting at, or what it feels like anyway. And it kind of alludes to this as well in, there's a whole connection it has with Hands Across America, which was a well-intentioned but ultimately kind of fruitless charity thing from back in the 80s, where everyone held hands, and that is something that the tethered are doing. It's not entirely clear why. The movie doesn't go out of its way to explain a lot of things in terms of that, and I think that is helping to make it open to interpretation. The issue I kind of take with if the idea is that, and again, this is purely based on this reading that might not be what Jordan Peele intended, it might be just what a lot of people are taking away from it, but you get the upper class and lower class thing. The tethered, who are meant to represent the working class and the poor, are all animalistic and violent and evil. Like, there's not really much where they are portrayed with any sympathy, and so it makes it kind of a muddled message of, these actions you are taking are affecting the people who are below you in the social structure without you even realizing it, but also they're evil. It's a little bit muddled with that. Not too much. Like, it didn't hinder my enjoyment of the film, which even without this kind of metaphorical reading to it, it is still just a very solid, entertaining horror film where you want the characters to survive. The scares are based on tension and atmosphere. I can't really think of any jump scares that it did. There's a couple of things where things like a shocking moment happens, but it never feels like something is just just jumping out at you. And it's not too bad in the terms of the violence and the gore either. There's a little bit, there's some blood and people do get stabbed with the big scissors and things, but ultimately a lot of that is kept kind of off screen, or like it'll be blocked by something and you'll just see kind of some of the blood. It's not too violent. I mean, obviously you couldn't take your kids to it, it's an R-rated horror movie, but I think it's a tolerable level for people who might be a bit squeamish. And I think it's good that Jordan Peele is making horror movies like this and like Get Out that have a bit more of a social message to them. Even if in this one I feel it's a little bit not all there in places, it's a much more ambitious film than Get Out was. So it's fascinating to see Jordan Peele growing as a director like this, because bear in mind, this is still only his second film as a director. And he's made Get Out and he's made Us, I like both those films a lot. I think ultimately Get Out is a little stronger, but Us is trying some very interesting things. It really, when it lands, it really lands. It's mainly as it gets kind of towards the end that things start to get a little, There's a very final reveal at the end which makes you kind of question everything that's come before, and I'm still kind of playing some of that through in my mind, because I watched this last night, and it's the morning after now, so I'm still kind of processing a lot of what this movie was, because again, some movies you watch it, you get all you need to out of it on the first watch, but this one kind of feels like one where it might need a second watch at some point for me to actually fully grasp some of what's going on, because I think it is a pretty smart movie in a lot of places, and I think there's other places where it might not hold up to scrutiny when you're re-examining it. So I'm not sure how I feel about it overall. I liked it, but with reservations, and I'm not sure how much I would immediately recommend, rush out to the cinema and see it. Although it is a very nice looking film, it's very well acted, it's paced pretty well. It's a very well constructed film. There's just kind of some issues, I think, in how it frames its messages, and with kind of its climax, it loses the way a little bit. But I don't know. It's a weird and interesting film that's probably worth checking out. If you're into horror films, definitely give it a watch. And if you liked Get Out, I would still recommend it. Again, it's not as good as Get Out, but I would still recommend this. And I really can't wait to see what Jordan Peele does with The Twilight Zone next. I hope this movie does pretty well, even though like I say, I'm not fully saying rush out and see it right away. I hope this movie does well enough that Jordan Peele can keep making interesting, ambitious films like this, because we deserve more creativity like that. So I guess overall, my take on Us is pretty good, maybe a little muddled. I might need to watch it a second time. Thank you so much for watching my video all about Us. Let me know what you thought about the movie in a comment below. Click up here to subscribe, and over here are some more videos. And if you'd like to support me, then you can click on my Patreon, which is down in the description, because you can't put it in the end card unless you're already monetized on YouTube. Good job at being a terrible website.